Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. There is a concept called Dietland and Donutland that was coined by Jess Baker, who is a writer and a fat activist, and I believe also based on a bit of work by a Dr. Deb Burgard. And I wanted to bring this concept to you. If you've ever seen me for a consult or we've ever worked together, you've probably heard me talk about the Dietland versus Donutland theory or this way of thinking around food. And I wanted to explain it a bit more here because I think it really is fascinating. It helps me better understand how intuitive eating kind of fits into us walking away from dieting and recovering our relationship with food after dieting. So there's a few different ways I explain it. I'm gonna start by using this particular graphic, and then moving on to another way to think about it. So if you imagine being in Dietland, so Dietland is a place where we count calories, where we are careful about what we're eating, where maybe we restrict food, we're engaging in portion control, maybe we're cutting out certain foods or trying to avoid eating certain foods. There's lots of food rules in Dietland. There's lots of rigid structure. Eating has to be a certain way, and if it's not, then we're cheating or we're doing things wrong. Often we're there and we're obsessing over the scale. We're feeling lots of guilt and shame. It can be both comforting to be in Dietland because we're following someone else's plan. We're doing food in a way that is, we've been told where it's going to guarantee weight loss. And it feels awfully icky too, because that rigidity, that deprivation, and that restriction just can't be held on to for very long. So what tends to happen is when we want to be more of an intuitive eater, get more towards the world or the land of intuitive eating land, we have to go through something called donut land. So if you imagine, so I live in Montreal. So if you imagine yourself, if I'm on a train and I want to take a train or maybe even a car ride, and I want to get all the way to Toronto, I live in Montreal. Between Montreal and Toronto, there's Ottawa. Most people go through Ottawa while they're on their way to Toronto. And if you're taking Via Rail, if you're taking a train, you're going to absolutely have to stop in Ottawa before you head on over to Toronto. So, and I imagine Dietland as being like Montreal and Ottawa being Donut Land and Toronto being kind of like intuitive eating land. We have to walk through Donut Land in order to get towards intuitive eating. When we are leaving Dietland and we're walking towards intuitive eating, we are going to have a stopover at Donut Land. Leaving Dietland takes a lot of courage and bravery and strength, and it feels very empowering and very scary. And here we are headed into a place called Donut Land, which can itself bring a lot of fear and worry and empowerment and anxiety. And so knowing that Donut Land is a stop on the way to intuitive eating land can be very helpful for some people. So Donut Land, as its name suggests, it is a place where we will be eating foods, having a great desire to eat the foods that we've been restricting in Dietland. So often things like donuts and chips and chocolate, which have been forbidden or encouraged to avoid in Dietland. This is a place in Donutland where we are going to eat all the things, or we are going to heal our relationship with food by eating the food and by giving ourselves permission. There it is again, that unconditional permission to eat. It is a place of lots of great food and can be very scary for people. So in Donutland, as you'll see on my graphic here, in Donutland, there can be a lot of food rebelling. So being a food rebel can be a big thing for people in Donutland, meaning when the food police come out, like they do in Dietland, we tend to want to rebel against all those food rules we've been trying to follow over the years or over the months. And so we're going to be rebelling against the food rules that we've been taught. We're going to be rejecting the food rules that we've been taught. We're going to be eating all the food. There may be structure for some people. There may feel like there isn't. For some people, structure is good, and for some people, structure is not so good in Donut Land. There's an expression called F it fries. So fuck it fries is an expression, I believe. I can't remember who said that, but and I wish I did because I can't find the original person who's introduced me to this F-it fries, but this feeling of I'm going to do it because I can and I'm allowed. Kind of approaching food with lots of rebelliousness, approaching food with lots of kind of determination to eat the food and to make up for all that lost time. That can happen in donut land, and that is very normal. It can feel scary and is very normal. So freeing and scary. And it could also include not being able to listen to our fullness. So not being able to stop when we're full is part of being in donut land. And I think it's really important to be open and clear about that, because people tend to get really scared in donut land. And you'll notice these pink arrows here. We can kind of go between, bounce a little bit between donut land and diet land. We can kind of, this cycle can happen between donut land and diet land, because donut land can feel so scary and so opposite to diet land. And diet land, all the rules around food and eating can make us feel like donut land is our worst nightmare. Look at this. I stopped dieting. I took away the food rules. Now look what you're doing. You're eating everything. You can't be trusted with food. You better go back to diet land. It is not true, but we will have those feelings. Knowing that you're in a special place. Your end goal is not to be in Ottawa. Your end goal is to be in Toronto. Your end goal is not to live in donut land for the rest of your life. This is not normal land. This is not intuitive eating land. This is donut land, where it is going to be uncomfortable and empowering, and it's going to help us rid that deprivation from our body in order to approach food in a more neutral, calm way. So donut land is not intuitive eating, meaning a lot of my clients are saying, is this how I'm going to be eating for the rest of my life? Rejecting the rules, eating with anger, eating with feeling like I'm a bottomless pit. This is a normal stage. When we take the train from Montreal, we're going to go through Ottawa. It's a normal thing. Don't panic. We will eventually be, as we go through donut land, we are healing our relationship with food, and we will eventually be able to get to intuitive eating land. But we cannot skip over donut land and get to intuitive eating without going. We can't get to intuitive eating without going through donut land. And that's really important because a lot of people are going to feel like they're in donut land for too long, or they're going to start second guessing their ability to get through donut land. You can do hard things and you can get through it. Certainly, if you need more support than this course can give, reach out to me or reach out to a local HAES anti-diet dietitian to help guide you and help put some of your fears at ease. But donut land is a place we naturally land when we're leaving diet land. And it is healing and it is therapeutic and it is very helpful for approaching intuitive eating in a calm way. And intuitive eating is definitely more of a neutral, calm place that we get to around food. We can hear our body's signals for food and for hunger and fullness, and we can heed our body's cues. So if you're in a moment where you're not able to really hear your hunger or really hear your fullness, chances are you're still in donut land, and that's okay. It can take a long time to get through donut land before we can come out the other end and say, okay, now I'm able to hear and heed my hunger and my fullness. I'm not scared to eat when I'm hungry. And I know that I'm giving myself permission to both stop when I'm full and not stop if I want to continue eating. Intuitive eating is a place where there's a lot less guilt and shame around food and our body. And we feel a lot more confident with our eating. We feel like we know how to feed our body. We know the reasons why we might choose a cupcake versus why we might choose an apple. So we're getting to food in a much more calm way. So if you're not feeling very calm, you're not feeling very calm, cool, and collected around food, chances are you're in diet land, you're in donut land, and that's okay. This is a healing place where we're going to allow all foods to fit. We're going to practice having all foods fit in our life with unconditional permission. And that just takes time sometimes.